What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, going to be talking about UFC 276 and my really quick predictions, early preview. So this is me looking at the card with no research whatsoever. I do my research over the next couple of days, and in 2 days time, about 48 hours from now, of uploading the video, you will see my full card breakdown, my full card preview and predictions. But for now, let's just look at the card just as it is. You know, some picks might change in a couple of days time, but let's just quickly get into the picks and my predictions for now, you know, without any research. As always, if you do want a 125% deposit bonus, you got BetUS. My link in the description will give you 125% deposit bonus. The first fight of the night, Jessica Rose Clark versus Yulia Stoliarenko. I completely butchered her name there, but this is a tough one. Honestly, like, you would look at this fight and you would think that Jessica Rose Clark is definitely going to win, because Yulia Stoliarenko has looked terrible in the UFC. She's on a 3-fight losing streak. She's never won a fight in the UFC. I don't even know if she won a fight when she was on the Ultimate Fighter, so it kind of makes me question why the UFC is still keeping her around. Yeah, she didn't even win a fight in the Ultimate Fighter. Oh, she did. She won one fight in the Ultimate Fighter, lost a couple of times, come back, and now she's on a 3-fight losing streak, and she's still in the UFC. And it really amazes me that they've still kept her around. But Jessica Rose Clark showed zero fight IQ against Stephanie Egger. You know, like, oh my god. So Stephanie Egger, really good judoka, and Jessica Rose Clark decides to try and play judo with her. So unbelievably bad fight IQ. I guess maybe Yulia Stoliarenko could get a submission because that's what she's good at. But Jessica Rose Clark, I think is gonna be hopefully good enough to not lose this fight. I'll pick her decision. Brad Tavares versus Dricus du Plessis. This is a really tough one, man, because you do really have a live underdog in Dricus du Plessis, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be picking Dricus du Plessis. I mean, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know, because he's still... Look, the guys, the truth is about Dricus du Plessis, he's still somewhat unproven. He's only fought twice in the UFC against Marcus Perez and Trevin Giles. And now he's already getting a big jump up into the top 15. You know, his one loss to Roberto Soldic. He's a really big prospect, really hot prospect. Brad Tavares has been in there for a very long time. He's been in the UFC for ages. He's on the Ultimate Fighter. Beat Murray-Akhmedov. I mean, it's somewhat aging well now that he's in PFL. That's aging really well. His win over ACJ. He hasn't fought much in the last 5 years. Oh, look, man, I'll side with Dricus du Plessis for now, but I'm not that confident, man. Tavares definitely could pull it off as the slight favourite. Now, Jessica Eye versus Macy Barber. I do believe Macy Barber's going to win this one. I feel like she's just a very overhyped prospect, though, but the truth is no one really likes Jessica Eye, so I think everyone in the MMA community seems to celebrate when she loses. So, yeah, I think Macy Barber should win this one here. She's only 24 years old. She's got time to develop. She robbed Miranda Maverick really badly, though. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget how badly she robbed Miranda Maverick. One of the worst decisions I've personally ever seen in modern MMA. But I mean, she beat Montana De La Rosa. Montana De La Rosa's alright. Jessica Eye's on a slide. She's older. She's never really been great either. Macy Barber by decision is my pick here. Now, this is a fight I'm really looking forward to, man. Andre Muniz. Andre Muniz is chinny. Okay, so Andre Muniz has 4 losses, right? And he's got 4 losses by KO. He's pretty chinny, you know, and Uriah Hall, you know what Uriah Hall does? He hits hard, and he hits really hard, but it's still picking Andre Muniz. I think as soon as the fight starts, he's going to look to get the takedown. I think he's going to take Uriah Hall down, who is a striker, and I do think he's going to get the submission. I mean, this is the guy that submitted Jacare Souza on short notice. He submitted Eric Anders, and Uriah Hall, you know, recently lost to Sean Strickland, beating Chris Weidman by that pretty brutal broken leg, knocked out Anderson Silva, beat ACJ, and knocked out Bevan Lewis. But I think Uriah Hall, I mean, he's got a chance, man. Uriah Hall, maybe if the odds end up being super, super wide, could be like a dog or pass sort of fight. Andre Muniz by submission is the pick. But if Uriah Hall, like, pulls something out and he gets a crazy KO, I wouldn't be overly surprised, honestly. Now, Donald Cerrone versus Jim Miller. I personally think that this is the fight that should go on the main card because Miesha Tate versus Lauren Murphy got cancelled. But otherwise, you could do Robbie Lawler. You could do Brad Riddell versus Jalen Turner on there too. But this is such a good card. You've got Donald Cerrone versus Jim Miller too on the prelims. A rematch in about 7 or 8 years in the making. You know, these guys fought in 2014, I believe it was, and Donald Cerrone won by head kick KO. And the fight is taking place at 170 as well, which I think will benefit Donald Cerrone because he's the bigger guy. He's 6'1" with a 73-inch reach. But you've got to consider the fact that this guy cut weight twice, in a span of about a month or so in between his fights with oh my god, his name Joe Lozon. He's meant to fight Joe Lozon. He can't wait twice for 155. Now he's taking this on short notice against Jim Miller. It is at 170, so that does benefit Donald Cerrone, but he doesn't have to cut weight again. But this is 3 weight cuts in the span of about a month for a 39-year-old Donald Cerrone who didn't look amazing against Alex Morono, personally. I think Jim Miller's going to knock him out. Jim Miller, he's kind of had a resurgence recently, somewhat, I guess. Like, he's fought 2 guys making the UFC debuts. He beat Erickson Gonzalez by KO, beat Nicholas Motta by KO, and I do believe he should be able to knock out Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone's fight against Alex Morono didn't fill me with much confidence, to be honest, so I don't think Jim Miller, even at 170, should be able to beat Donald Cerrone. It seems like the fans are agreeing with me as well. Now, Ian Gary versus Gabe Green. I'm going with Ian Gary, but it's so hard to be super confident, Gabe Green, he's had a lot going on, man. Like, that's why I picked Johan Lainez to beat him. Like, Gabe Green, I believe, had a heart attack earlier this year and still beat Johan Lainez. But Johan Lainez, I probably have better cardio than Johan Lainez, and I'm recovering from a surgery on my shoulder. But point is, in Gary, undefeated prospect, pretty easy to get behind the undefeated guys, to be honest. And he's undefeated for a reason, because he's quite good. But he had a competitive fight against Darian Weeks. He had a competitive fight against Jordan Williams. I know he knocked him out at the end, but Jordan Williams was beating him on the feet. But Gabe Green, I feel like, is another cherry-picked opponent for Ian Gary to get another one in the UFC. They're building up Ian Gary to try and be like Conor McGregor, except he's a lot less likable. I know Conor McGregor's a pretty unlikable character, but Ian Gary is really hard to get behind, in my opinion. I know everyone kind of hates on people that don't like the new up-and-coming prospects that are trying to build a name for themselves, but Ian Gary just annoys me, man. Like, he looks in the mirror in a video, he's like, oh, I'm so handsome. I was like, well, you're just a bit cringe, mate. But I'll be picking Ian Gary. If Johan Lainez couldn't knock out Gabe Green, Ian Gary probably can't either. So I'll be picking Ian Gary by decision. Now, Robbie Lawler versus Bryan Barberena. I've got Robbie Lawler, and I'm actually surprised that he's the favourite in this one here. I thought that the younger guy in Bryan Barberena would be the favourite, but, Bryan Barberena, I feel like is, I'm gonna get so much hate. I'm gonna get so much hate for this video, because I talked about shit about Ian Gary, and I talked shit about Jessica Eye, but no one really cares about Jessica Eye though. But Bryan Barberena doesn't really excite me all that much. He's had so many injuries in his career that I feel like he's starting to slow down. Same thing with Robbie Lawler though. So these are 2 guys that are slowing down a little bit. And Bryan Barberena is so much younger. It would be so easy to pick Bryan Barberena, in my opinion, because I think he's got a good chance at winning. He beat Matt Brown in his last one in a great fight. Matt Brown always comes to scrap. He beat Darian Weeks by decision, but did he? And Darian Weeks took that fight on very short notice as well. We've seen him out-wrestled before by Jason Witt. Everyone says that Bryan Barberena is always in exciting fights, but I just don't really see it, personally. Robbie Lawler, though, he's on a big losing streak, spanning quite a few years. Beat Nick Diaz, but I don't know how much stock you can put in the Nick Diaz fight, man. I don't really know why they've made this fight, because I don't actually think it's going to be that exciting. I'll go with Robbie Lawler by decision, but I'm going to regret that pick. I think Barberena will probably win, but my pick for now is Robbie Lawler. We'll see. I'll look into it a little bit more. Brad Riddell versus Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner, I know he watches my videos. Jalen Turner and his mum, who's his manager, watch my videos, and they comment on my videos because I always pick against Jalen Turner. They're real cool about it though, they're quite cool, and but the thing is, I told them, I was like, alright, whoever he fights next, I'm going to pick Jalen Turner. But now you have to fight Brad Riddell. I'm from New Zealand, man. You can't do that. You can't God damn it. You can't oh man, do I keep my promise to Jalen Turner and his mum, or do I take Brad Riddell? Jalen Turner's good. Jalen Turner's really good, man. I've underrated him, to be honest. I will be honest. I picked Jamie Malaki to beat him. I picked Uros Medix to beat him. I didn't pick Brock Weaver to beat him. I didn't have a YouTube channel then, so I'm 0-2 on Jalen Turner picks. So maybe I'm not the best person to come to when it comes to trying to get a Jalen Turner pick. But I picked Brad Riddell to beat Rafael Fiziev. He was winning that fight somewhat. I think Rafael Fiziev was on his way to getting a decision win, but it was very competitive on the feet, and that was a really good fight. I picked him to beat Drew Dober, but he beat Drew Dober in a war. I feel like Jalen Turner would sweep the floor with Drew Dober. Oh, do I let my New Zealand bias overwhelm me, or do I pick Jalen Turner? He's so much bigger than Brad Riddell. He beat the shit out of Joshua Collarbell, and that's aging well. Oh god. Okay. I'm having a moment, man. Oh shit. Okay, I'm picking Turner. I'm picking Turner. Oh man, I'm picking Turner. Let's move on. Skip that segment. Pedro Munhoz versus Sean O'Malley. I think Sean O'Malley wins a decision in this one here. I know there's probably going to be a few people on the O'Malley KO side. Yeah, there is. But Pedro Munhoz has never been finished. All 7 of his losses come by decision. And Sean O'Malley maybe could be the first guy to knock him out. And if he does, at the age of 36, I mean, it would still be an impressive feat. You know what I mean? I wouldn't take it away from him. I think that Sean O'Malley's on a pretty good run. Like, you know what? I'm going to pick Sean O'Malley by KO. Howley and Paiva, he knocked out Howley and Paiva and made Howley and Paiva not look that good. And Soke Morozov, who's a really good up-and-coming prospect, had problems with Howley and Paiva's striking. I mean, he did knock out Chris Moutinho in that fight, which was kind of weird. Like, Chris Moutinho was just a standing punching bag for him. You would expect him to finish him sooner. He knocked out Thomas Almeida in the 3rd round. Knocked out Eddie One's got no chin anymore, man. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm going to pick Sean O'Malley KO. I know that Pedro Munhoz is durable. I know he's never been KO'd before. I'm going to pick it, man. Sean O'Malley's good. I feel like he's underrated as a fighter. Like, people like him for his personality, but he's a really good fighter. I will be going with O'Malley, and I'm going to pick KO. I'm going to pick O'Malley by KO. And now moving on, Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. I don't think this fight's going to be in the UFC 276 press conference, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, because Alex Pereira talking to Izzy, Sean Strickland talking to Izzy would be like the best moment ever, and it would make so much sense. It would build up a fight, because this is a title eliminator, you know. Sean Strickland talking shit to Izzy, Alex Pereira talking shit to Izzy, you know, that would build up the subsequent fight, because I do think Izzy wins the main event, just to spoil it. But Sean Strickland, he's good. He's got wrestling in his back pocket. I do think he is going to look to wrestle in this fight, and I think that he's the easiest fighter in the top 5. For Alex Pereira to beat, and they are rushing Alex Pereira to a title shot, because this guy is 34, almost 35 years old. He beat Sean Strickland. He's going to be able to fight Israel Adesanya in MMA for a title shot. I think that Alex Pereira loses to Marvin Vettori. I think that Alex Pereira also loses to Robert Whittaker as well. So Jared Cannonier will be interesting too. That would be a good scrap, but that's not the point. You know, we're seeing Alex Pereira versus Sean Strickland. Alex Pereira had some problems with Bruno Silva in that fight on the feet. You know, like, I know Alex Pereira is probably one of the best kickboxers ever, but Sean Strickland's good too, man. And he's got wrestling in the back pocket. He could look to wrestle Alex Pereira to get the win. I mean, at the end of the day, for Sean Strickland, a title shot's on the line, and he's going to do whatever he can to get the title shot. I was picking Alex Pereira to start with. I'm picking Strickland for now. I really am picking Strickland for now by decision. I'm not confident, but I will side with Strickland. I genuinely will for now. Now, Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. This is another one I'm going to get so much hate for in the comments. Alexander Volkanovski is going to beat Max Holloway, and I do believe he's going to finish Max Holloway. It's going to end this trilogy with a statement. Max Holloway, you know, he fought Yair Rodriguez, and I personally wasn't actually that impressed by Max Holloway's performance. I was impressed by Yair Rodriguez, who took like 2 years off before that fight. He beat Calvin Kattar in a very impressive performance, yes, I will admit, but Alexander Volkanovski would beat the crap out of Calvin Kattar, let's be honest. Yeah, like, he beat Chan Sung Jung in a dominant performance, beat Brian Ortega in a more dominant performance, in my opinion, than Holloway did. Finished him in the 3rd round, but according to the MMA judging rules, he should have actually forfeited at the end of the 3rd round, because he had to have help to get on his stool. There's a TKO win for Volkanovski, but I mean, he definitely won the second fight, clearly won the first fight. People think that was close, but Alexander Volkanovski won that 50-45, so I think people were in denial there. Volkanovski, he's building a legacy for himself. If he beats Max Holloway for a 3rd time, Max Holloway, he's never going to be able to be the greatest featherweight of all time, because if he goes on to have a great career after this, because he's so much younger than Volkanovski, people will always remember him for losing 3 times to Volk. So give me Volkanovski inside the distance. Genuinely do believe he's going to win inside the distance. Ground and pound to TKO in like the 4th or the 5th round for Volk. I think he's going to put a statement on this trilogy, and I genuinely believe that. Now, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. I think Israel Adesanya, He needs to win this fight by finish. Like, he needs to, because the fans are turning against him. People are starting to think that he's a point fighter. People are starting to think that he's boring because he's leg kicking to decisions. I believe he beat Robert Whittaker. I know that's somewhat of a disputed decision, but I think he beat Robert Whittaker personally. He beat Melvin Vettori, you know, in a somewhat boring fight, but you can put some of the blame on Vettori for that one there, because he was kind of going for the takedowns and initiating the wrestling. But Israel Adesanya needs a KO. He needs a KO, because people are starting to think he's a boring fighter. People aren't really interested in him anymore. Jared Cannonier is a good fighter. He's obviously the dark horse in the middleweight division. He's got a really, really cool story. But a real cool story doesn't beat Israel Adesanya, in my opinion. I think he's going to be too good on the feet. I think he's going to kick from range. I think he's going to box from range. I think eventually he's going to find the counterpunch off Jared Cannonier. I do believe he is going to knock Jared Cannonier out. In my opinion, you know, a lot of people picking decision. I respect that. That's probably the smarter play. But for me, I know for a fact Adesanya is not going to be a superstar if he wins this fight by decision, or if he wins like a very exciting decision, he will still be the star. But if he doesn't, people aren't really going to care about Izzy anymore. You know, people think that he's a somewhat boring fight. I feel like more people are actually buying this pay-per-view to watch Volkanovski versus Holloway 3 than they are Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. And I don't even think that I'll be alone in saying that. But Adesanya KO was my pick on the main event, so let me know what you guys think of that video. Pretty controversial video, I know, but these are just my opinions, man, so it's kind of the point of the video, so I'll catch you in the next one.